Have you ever looked at a flood of alerts and thought, we have the data, but are we actually seeing the attack? In a modern environment, threats move fast. Logs live in different places. And the hardest part is turning noise into clear, actionable incidents. In this session, you'll see how Microsoft Sentinel helps you collect the right data, detect what matters, investigate diligently, and respond quickly, so your security operation team can stay ahead instead of playing catch up. Hello and welcome. We're glad you've joined us. I'm Jean-François Bilodeau, a Microsoft technical trainer. In this session, we'll cover configure the Microsoft Sentinel SIEM and platform. We'll start by grounding ourselves in what Microsoft Sentinel is and where it fits in a modern security operation model. Then we'll move into planning and deploying a workspace, connecting it to Microsoft Defender XDR, and managing settings, tables, tiers, and retention. From there, we'll use advanced hunting and KQL to explore key table, and we'll round out this session with two practical capabilities you'll use often: watch lists and threat intelligence. So let's get started with this session. This content sits within Learning Path 7, focused on configuring the Microsoft Sentinel SIEM and the broader Sentinel platform capabilities. The intent is to help you understand not only how to get Sentinel running, but also how to operate it day to day in a way that supports a real security operations center. Here's what we'll cover. We'll start with an introduction to Microsoft Sentinel, what it is and why it's useful. Then we'll walk through how to deploy the Microsoft Sentinel SIEM, followed by how to deploy the Microsoft Sentinel platform capabilities. After deployment, we'll shift into using logs effectively by querying data in Microsoft Sentinel. Next, we'll take a look at watch lists, how they help us enrich and accelerate investigation. And finally, we'll wrap up by exploring how to utilize threat intelligence in Microsoft Sentinel. To set the stage, we'll start with Microsoft Sentinel itself, what it does, the core component you'll interact with, and the scenarios where it becomes a strong fit for our security operations. After completing this module, you should be able to do three key things. First, identify the various components and functionality of Microsoft Sentinel. Second, identify use cases where Microsoft Sentinel would be a good solution. And third, understand the difference between Microsoft Sentinel SIEM and the Microsoft Sentinel platform, because those two perspectives influence on how you design, deploy, and operate your environment. Microsoft Sentinel is a scalable, cloud-native security solution that combines two major capabilities: security information and event management, or SIEM, and security orchestration, automation, and response, or SOAR. In practice, that means you can bring in data at scale, analyze it, and then act on it quickly, without having to stitch together separate systems. With Microsoft Sentinel, your organization can collect data using data connectors, detect threats that otherwise might go unnoticed by combining analytics with threat intelligence, investigate suspicious activities with the help of artificial intelligence, and respond to incidents quickly through built-in orchestration and automation of common tasks. If you want additional practice behind this session, there's also an interactive guide that walks you through detecting and responding to modern attacks with unifying SIEM and XDR capabilities. To understand how Sentinel supports daily operations, it helps to map out the main solution component you'll use in an SOC workflow. It starts with data connectors to bring in logs and signals into the workspace, From there, parsers help normalize and shape data so it's easier to work with. Workbooks provide visualization and dashboards for monitoring and analysis. Next comes analytic rules, which detect suspicious patterns and generate alert, and hunting queries, which let you proactively detect for threats. Notebooks support deeper investigation and analysis, often used by advanced analysis. Incident and investigation tie related alerts together so you can manage response as a single case. Automation Playbook and Azure Logic app custom connectors help you standardize and speed up response action. And finally, watchlist lets you bring in reference data like VIP user or known safe IP ranges to enrich detection and investigation. If you want a comprehensive reference, Microsoft Learn has documentation on Sentinel solution and components. So when is Microsoft Sentinel the right choice? Sentinel is designed to run secure operation across both cloud and on-premise environment. You'll use it when you need to collect event data from many different sources and then perform security operation on that data to identify suspicious activity. Those operations can include visualizing log data, detecting anomalies, hunting for threats, investigating incidents, and automated response to alerts and incidents. Sentinel is also a strong fit if you want a cloud-native SIEM, meaning no servers to provision and effortless scaling, while still benefiting from Microsoft's research and machine learning and supporting hybrid scenarios. Another way to think about Sentinel is as a combination of a SIEM and a data lake approach in one solution with flexible retention and query option. And there are some clear requirements that often point to Sentinel. You'll need to support data from multiple cloud environments. You want an SOC-ready feature without excessive administration overhead, and you need a unified way to collect and operationalize security data at scale. Now, let's clarify a key concept. Microsoft Sentinel SIEM versus Microsoft Sentinel Platform. The SIEM focus is on operational SOC workflow, day-to-day detection, investigation, and response. The platform focus is more strategic, designed to support a broader long-term security data and analysis needs. On the data storage side, the SIEM uses a log analytic workspace and can collect data from 350 plus connectors, while the platform introduces a data lake approach with tiered retention. For analytics, SIEM is commonly KQL based for threat hunting, while the platform adds graph-based analysis for things like attack path visualization. Integration differs too. SIEMs align closely with the Defender portal experience and Copilot, while the platform is positioned to integrate with Defender XDR, Purview, and custom application. Retention is another major difference. In SIEM, 30 days is the default retention, though you can extend it. With Platform, the data lake can support retention up to 12 years. And when it comes to customization, SIEMs provide the familiar operational toolings, analytical rules, playbook, workbooks, and connectors used to tailor detection and response workflows for your environment. With the fundamentals in place, we're ready to move into deployment. Here, we'll shift from concept to architecture and setup so you understand what needs to be in place and how to connect Sentinel with the rest of the Microsoft security ecosystem. After this module, you'll be able to describe Microsoft Sentinel workspace architecture, install and connect Microsoft Sentinel to Log Analytic Workspace, onboard a Sentinel SIEM workspace to Microsoft Defender XDR, manage Sentinel SIEM's workspace, and finally onboard the data lake and enable Microsoft Sentinel platform capabilities. If you want to explore the official documentation as you practice, Microsoft Learn has dedicated Sentinel documentation hub. Workspace planning is one of the most important early decisions because it affects governance, performance, and how your team operates. There's a few common patterns. One option is a single tenant with a single Microsoft Sentinel workspace, which can simplify operation when you have a centralized team and consistent requirements. Another pattern is a single tenant with regional workspace, which can help with data residency, latency, or organizational separation across region. And for service providers or large enterprise with multiple Entra ID tenant, a multi-tenant approach lets you manage Sentinel across those tenant boundaries while still maintaining appropriate isolation and control. If you have multiple Sentinel workspaces, Workspace Manager helps you manage them centrally. It enables you to manage multiple Microsoft Sentinel workspace within one or more Azure tenants. The idea is you have a central workspace where Workspace Manager is enabled in settings, and that central workspace can consolidate content item so you can publish content at scale to member workspaces. When you need to manage Microsoft Sentinel workspaces across multiple Entra ID tenant, Azure Lighthouse becomes a key capability. Azure Lighthouse provides delegated resource management, giving you access to subscription-level management tools across tenant. Practically, it allows you to select and manage all subscription that contains the workspaces you're responsible for without having to sign in and out of different tenants. To create and onboard a Microsoft Sentinel workspace, start with a prerequisite. You need the required permission on the Azure subscription. From there, the process is straightforward. First, create and configure a Log Analytic workspace, making sure you plan the region selection carefully. Second, add Microsoft Sentinel to that workspace by selecting the newly created Log Analytic workspace during setup. Third, onboard Microsoft Sentinel to Defender XDR by connecting your Sentinel workspace to Microsoft Defender XDR. And finally, note that for a new Microsoft Sentinel deployment, the last step is automatically completed as part of the deployment experience. As you deploy and operate Sentinel permission matters because they determine who can configure data source, create detection, and respond to incident. You'll encounter Microsoft Sentinel specific roles as well as broader Azure role and Azure Monitor Log Analytic roles. It's also important to understand how Sentinel roles map to allowed action, and when you might need custom roles and advanced Azure RBAC to match your organization's operational model and separation of duty requirements. Sentinel settings can be managed in two places, within Microsoft Sentinel itself and within the Log Analytic workspace is connected to. In practice, you'll often move between these experiences depending on whether you're configuring Sentinel feature, managing workspace level settings, or controlling how data is stored and retained. Storage and retention in Sentinel is built around tiers and table types. And understanding this helps you balance cost, performance, and investigation needs. Microsoft Sentinel SIEM and platform manage 3 storage tier and 3 table type. The tiers are analytics, data lakes, and basic. Where basic is associated with SIEM usage pattern, on the table side, you'll see categories such as Sentinel table, XDR table, and custom table. The combination of these tiers and table type determine where data lives, how long it's kept, and how you query it. From an operational standpoint, you'll manage table directly in Defender XDR experience when working with Sentinel in the unified portal. This is where you control retention for both the analytic tier and the data lake tier. The key takeaway is that retention isn't just a policy decision. It directly impacts what you can investigate, how far back you can hunt, and what it costs to keep the data available. Once the data is flowing and retention is configured, the next skill is knowing how to query it efficiently. Here, we'll focus on advanced hunting and KQL to explore data, validate ingestion, and accelerate investigation. After completing this module, you'll be able to use advanced hunting to view table data in Microsoft Sentinel, and you'll be able to query the most commonly used table. These are foundational skills because even the best detection and automation depends on your ability to validate and explore the underlying data. In advanced hunting, the query window is your command center. It lets you run queries, save them for reuse, and rerun save query as needed. From the same experience, you can also create rule, export result, and link your finding directly to an incident. The overall workflow is designed to help you go from, I wonder if something happened, to here's the evidence, there's the scope, and there's the incident we're working on. To query effectively, you'll need to recognize a few core Sentinel tables. The security alert table contains alert generated from Sentinel analytic rules, and it can also include alerts created directly from a Sentinel data connector. The security incident table is where alerts can be grouped into incidents, so incidents are related to one or more alerts. You'll also see the threat intelligence indicator table, which contains indicator created by users or ingested through data connectors. Things like file hashes, IP addresses, and domain. And finally, the watchlist table represents imported data stored in a watchlist, which you can use to enrich hunts, detection, and investigation. Beyond those core table, there are common table you'll use frequently depending on what you've connected. Azure Activities contains entries from the Azure Activity Log. Azure Diagnostics stores resource log for services that uses Azure Diagnostic Mode. Audit Log is the audit log for Microsoft Entra ID. Common Security Log is where your syslog messages using the Common Event Format, or CEF, are stored. Office Activities contains audit log for Microsoft 365 services like Exchange, SharePoint, Team. Security Event contains security events collected from Windows devices. Sign-in logs host Entra ID sign-in logs. Syslog includes syslog events from Linux computers using the log analytic agent. Events often refer to sysmon events collected from a Windows host. And Windows Firewall contains Windows Firewall event. The exact table you rely on day to day will reflect your data connectors and monitoring priorities. When you're working with a unified experience, you'll also encounter Microsoft Defender XDR table, especially in advanced hunting. For example, cloud app events, capture events in a cloud app in Microsoft Defender for cloud apps. Device events include many different event types coming from devices. Device file events track file creation, modification, and other file system activities. Device info provides device context like OS version, active users, and computer name. You'll also see table like device logon events for authentication activities, device network event for network connection, device process events for process creation, and device registry event for registry changes. Device TVM table relates to Microsoft Defender vulnerability management, security, and software information. Email events include Microsoft 365 email delivery and blocking event. Identity info provides account information from source like Entra ID. Keep in mind, this is not an all-inclusive list. The full schema is available in Microsoft Learn documentation for Advanced Hunting Schema Table. Now let's look at watchlists, one of the most practical tools for ensuring detection and investigation. Watchlists are essentially curated reference data that you can bring into Sentinel and use throughout your hunting, analytic, and response workflow. After completing this module, you'll be able to create a watch list in Microsoft Sentinel, use KQL to access that watch list, and update watch lists as your environment changes. These skills are essential because most SOCs have context data that doesn't naturally live in log streams, but is still critical for accurate detection and triage. There are several common ways to use watch lists. First, they help you investigate threat and respond to incident quickly by rapidly importing indicators like IP addresses, file hashes, and other values from CSV files. Once imported, you can use watchlist name-value pair for join and filters in alert rules, hunting query workbook, notebooks, and general queries. Second, you can import business data as a watch list. For example, you might import a list of users with privileged system access or a list of terminated employee, and then use that watch list to build allow list or deny list that helps detect or even prevent unexpected access pattern. Third, watch lists can reduce alert fatigue by suppressing alert from known benign pattern, such as tasks being performed by authorized users from authorized IP ranges. And fourth, watch lists enrich event data by adding context from external data source through name-value combination that you can join back into your telemetry. Creating and managing watch lists is done directly within the Sentinel experience in the Defender portal. The workflow is designed to let you upload a CSV, define the key column, and then manage items over time as the list evolves. If you need step-by-step guidance while practicing, Microsoft Learn has documentation specifically focused on managing watch lists and will also demo managing watch lists later on. Once a watch list exists, you can query its activity directly in Advanced Hunting KQL. For example, you can call the function getWatchList and specify the watch list name, such as high-value host, to return the rows in that list. From there, the real power comes from joining that watch list data to your event table, so you can quickly filter to high-impact assets or apply special handling to sensitive systems. Next, let's take a look at threat intelligence. Threat intelligence becomes most valuable when it's not just stored, but operationalized. So you can influence detection, enrich investigation, and help analysts make faster decisions with better context. After completing this module, you'll be able to manage threat indicators in Microsoft Sentinel, and you'll be able to use KQL to access those threat indicators. This bridges the gap between we have indicators and we can actively use indicator to hunt and detect. Threat intelligence in Microsoft Sentinel is managed alongside Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence and Threat Analytics in the Microsoft Defender portal. That placement is intentional. It helps you work with intelligence as part of investigation and response rather than treating it as a separate system. From a workflow perspective, this means analysis can pivot between incident hunting and intelligence without leaving the unified portal experience. In the threat intelligence area, you can manage your indicators without having to write a log query first. You can view, sort, filter, and search important indicators. And you can also create new indicators directly within the Sentinel interface. This supports day-to-day tasks like tagging indicators and creating indicators as part of an active security investigation. When you do want to use KQL, indicators are available throughout the Threat Intel Indicator and Threat Intel Objects table. A simple starting point is to query Threat Intel Indicator directly and then refine from there based on indicator type, confidence, expiration, or tags. Now we're getting to zoom out and place Sentinel in the bigger Microsoft Security Operations story, the Unified Security Operations Platform. This is about bringing SIEMs and XDR experience together so analysts can work from one consistent environment. In this learning path, we'll cover an introduction to the Unified Security Operations Platform, then compare capabilities, difference between the portal, walk through the onboarding process, and finally explore how to navigate and use feature in the Defender portal. Our objective here is to introduce the Unified Security Operation Platform. It's worth noting that this section is considered optional, but it provides valuable context if you're working in an environment where Sentinel and Defender XDR are managed together in the unified portal. Here we zoom out and place Microsoft Sentinel in the broader Unified Security Operations Platform. This approach brings the Sentinel experience directly in the Microsoft Defender portal, effectively merging SIEM and XDR into a single pane of glass. The goal is to give security team one comprehensive hub to prevent, detect, investigate, and respond to incident across their entire digital assets. In this unified model, you will work with familiar capabilities such as onboarding, alerts, and incidents with correlation, analytics, and custom detection, automation, and playbooks, API, advanced hunting, data retention, and role-based access control. With Microsoft Sentinel now generally available in the Defender portal, it's a great time to take advantage of a streamlined experience that brings these capabilities together. Onboarding is a key part of this experience. To connect or disconnect a Sentinel workspace to the unified platform, you'll need the right permission. This includes either owner rights on the subscription along with Microsoft Sentinel contributor permission or user access administrator combined with Microsoft Sentinel contributor access. One important prerequisite is configuring the Microsoft Defender XDR connector and ensuring incidents and alerts are connected. From an investigation perspective, alerts and incidents are correlated automatically. It can take a few minutes for Defender incidents to appear, but once they do, incident status, tag, resolution, and comments are synchronized bidirectionally. When incidents are sufficiently similar, the correlation engine can automatically merge them, helping reduce noise and focus analysts' attention. Analytics and custom detection work slightly differently in the unified experience. Custom detection don't support entity mapping in the same way as traditional Sentinel analytics rule. Additionally, the Fusion analytics rule is disabled once Sentinel is onboarded because Defender XDR correlation engine takes over incident creation and correlation. Automation and playbooks continue to work with best practices focus on analytics rules name or tags rather than incident titles. API remains largely available. Advanced hunting continues to evolve. Data retention configuration remains unchanged, and RBAC is unified across Azure Sentinel and Defender. Security Copilot, threat intelligence, and UEBA capabilities are all integrated into this experience to provide richer context and faster response. Here, we reinforce the value of the unified platform as a solution designed to make the job of a security practitioner easier while helping keeping organizations safer. By combining SIEM and XDR, this approach provides incident-level visibility across the entire attack chain. Onboarding follows the same permission model, requiring appropriate subscription-level access and configuration of the Defender XDR connectors. Alerts and incidents are synchronized between platforms, including status, resolution, and comments. While incidents are merged in Defender XDR, those changes are reflected automatically in Microsoft Sentinel. Analytics and detection follow the unified model, with Defender XDR handling incident creation and correlation. Automation rules continue to function with recommended condition focus on analytics rules name and alert product names. API remain usable. Advanced hunting support cross-data correlation and data retention policies stay consistent. RBAC ensures analysts only see what they are permitted to access, even when data exists behind the scene. Here we highlight the role of Microsoft Defender XDR plays in improving security operations effectiveness. Defender XDR delivers unified visibility and response across endpoints, identity, SaaS application, email, collaboration, tools, cloud workload, and data. Key capabilities include automatically disrupting advanced cyber attack at machine speed, enabling rapid response with prioritized incidents, improving SOC productivity with Security Copilot, auto-healing affected assets, proactively hunting threats, and managing multi-tenant environment more effectively. By unifying SIEM and XDR, the platform gives security team consistent tooling, richer context, and faster response across the entire environment. The objective here is to understand that while most Microsoft Sentinel capabilities are available in both the Azure portal and the Defender portal, there are meaningful differences that affect how and where certain tasks are performed. Here we compare Sentinel experience across the two portals. Some capabilities, such as bookmarks in advanced hunting, Fusion Analytics, certain automation workflow, and multi-workspace management, are available only in the Azure portal. Other features, such as attack disruption for SAP and specific incident management action, are available only in the Defender portal. Understanding these differences helps you choose the right portal for your specific task and avoid confusion when feature avoided one experience but not the other. To avoid duplicated incidents, Microsoft Incident Creation Rules are not supported in the Unified Security Operation Platform. Defender XDR uses its own correlation and incident creation logic. This change means you can no longer predetermine incident title and should avoid automation rules that rely on incident names. Instead, alert tuning and tags are recommended. For non-Defender integrated product, schedule analytic rules should be used instead of legacy incident creation rules. Now we focus on the onboarding process and what's required to connect Microsoft Sentinel to the Defender portal successfully. To onboard Sentinel to the Defender portal, you need a log analytic workspace with Sentinel enabled, access to the Defender portal, Defender XDR onboarded in your Entra tenant, and appropriate Azure roles. After connection, existing Azure RBAC permissions continue to apply, and the Defender portal supports a single tenant and one connected workspace at a time. When Sentinel is onboarded to the Defender portal and you're licensed for Defender XDR, the connection happens automatically. The Defender XDR data connector is set up for you, and overlapping alert connectors are disconnected to avoid duplication. If you're integrating from Azure portal, you'll install the Microsoft Defender XDR solution from the Content Hub and enable the data connector. Alerts and incident flow into Sentinel at no charge, while advanced hunting queries incur ingestion costs. Defender XDR handles incident creation, grouping, and correlation, replacing Sentinel's incident creation rules. Here we walk through the high-level process, installing the Defender XDR solution, connecting the workspace in the Defender portal, reviewing product changes, and completing the connection. Once connected, Sentinel data becomes available in advanced hunting, and the unified SIEM and XDR experience is ready. From within Sentinel, you can directly open the Defender portal to complete onboarding and manage unified security operations. Here, we provide a quick orientation to where Sentinel features live in the Defender portal, helping you navigate confidently between investigation, threat management, content management, and configuration areas. The objective here is to understand how to work with Microsoft Sentinel feature once they're available inside the Defender portal. Once your Sentinel workspace is connected, Microsoft Sentinel appears in the left-hand navigation. Pages like Overview, Incident, and Advanced Hunting shows unified data from both Sentinel and Defender XDR. Sentinel settings are available under System Settings in the Defender portal. Some Sentinel features are fully integrated into the Defender portal, while others are still open in the Azure portal. Understanding where each capability lives helps you work efficiently and avoids unnecessary context switching. Advanced hunting in the unified portal lets you query all Defender XDR and all Sentinel data together. You can explore schema detail, use Sentinel functions, run safe query, create analytics rule, and investigate results in a single experience. Sentinel tables and function appear alongside Defender XDR data in advanced hunting. This unified view makes cross-domain hunting much more efficient and reduces the need to switch tools. Defender XDR incident appear in the Sentinel incident queue with synchronized status, assignment, and resolution. Incidents merge and updates are reflected across both portals, providing a consistent operational view. In this session, we explored how Microsoft Sentinel and Defender XDR integrate in a unified security operation platform, examined capability differences between both portals, reviewed onboarding prerequisite, connected a workspace, and explored incident management and advanced hunting in the Microsoft Defender portal. This is where a hands-on demonstration reinforces the concept by walking through real configuration steps in a live environment. All right, we're now ready to set up Sentinel in Microsoft Azure. So we've got the Azure portal up and running. The first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a log analytic workspace on top of which we'll build Sentinel. So let's crack open log analytic workspaces. None are available, so let's create one. Trivial. We'll select a subscription, select or create a resource group. Let's choose a name. We'll just call it Defender Workspace. And finally, where do you want to store your telemetry, your data? In this case, let's go with West US 2. Next. There's nothing else really to do. Tags don't change anything when it comes to the service. They're optional. So let's create our log analytic workspace. Deploying right now. And we're done. Now that we've got a log analytic workspace, on top of it, let's add Defender. So here's our log analytic workspace. We're not going to be able to create Defender from here. So let's go back to our search bar. Let's search for Sentinel. And let's create our first Sentinel in Azure. Which workspace do we want to use? Let's use the one we created previously, Defender Workspace. Add. And done. We've got Sentinel ready to go, and we get a 30-day free trial as well. Let's click OK. And finally, last thing I'd like to configure with you is our retention. This will be done via log analytics. So this will be the retention of our log. How long do we want to keep our logs in our log analytic workspace? To do that, we'll select the workspace, settings. Let's go down to usage and estimated costs. And in the top bar, we've got data retention. The lowest is 30 days. Let's pump it up to 180 days for this demo. Okay, and we're good. Successfully updated log analytic workspace, and we've got the Sentinel provisioned. For our next demo, I'd like to create a watch list to make it easier for me to query a set of hosts. I've got a simple CSV file over here with 2 columns, host name and location. It's already saved. Let's use that to create a watch list using the Azure portal. We're going to switch back to Sentinel. Let's crack it open. And in Sentinel, under Configuration, Watch List, we don't have any created, so let's create our first watch list. New. We need to provide a name. I'll call this one High Value Host. This is the administrative name. Description, I'll skip over that. And the alias, let's use the same name as the administrative name. This is the name we're going to use in Kusto. Next, where's our watch list going to come from? Let's use the notepad file, the CSV file that I've shown you just a moment ago. Drag and drop in here. Here's the content of the file: host name, location. We're going to key by host name. Let's move ahead. Next, review plus create. And let's create our watch list. Now, it might take up to 10 minutes for your watch list to become available. So we'll give it a moment. And now let's try it out. There it is. Here's our watch list, high value host. Let's crack it open, view and logs. Switch to KQL mode. And there's the _get watch list command. We're going to bring up our high value host, run, boom. Here's the result. We can see the host name. We can see the location of the machine. And now I can use that watch list with other query using things like join operation to include only those hosts or exclude those hosts from queries. And now there's only one place where I need to go to update the list of hosts. And finally, let's create a threat indicator in Sentinel. I've already got my Sentinel workspace open in the Azure portal. Let's head down to Threat Management, Threat Intelligence, and let's create a new Threat Intelligence object. Let's click New, and we're going to create a Threat Intelligence object. Object type, we're going to do it based on an indicator, and that indicator will be a domain name. Let's use contoso.com as an example, and we'll treat that as a malicious domain name. Let's scroll down. We'll give it a name. We'll simply call it contoso.com. And next, indicator will say that this is for malicious activity. We're receiving malicious activity from that domain name. We're going to activate it today. We're not going to deactivate it or time constrain it. And we're done. We've created our threat intelligence indicator object. So now whenever we see activity from the contoso.com domain, we can now flag this as malicious activity. Let's query it. We're going to create a new query using our threat intel indicators table. Let's run the query as is. And one result comes back. That comes from our threat indicator that we've created just a moment ago, making it a little bit more actionable. Let's now project the observed value to confirm that it does indeed come from the contoso.com domain. There we go. We've created our first threat indicator object. We're now able to flag malicious hosts. In this learning path, we've covered what Microsoft Sentinel is, its core component, when and why to use it, from watch lists, improve investigation, and how threat intelligence can be operationalized with Sentinel. This concludes our session. Here are additional resources to continue your learning, including blogs, facts, and official documentation related to onboarding and operating Microsoft Sentinel. There are many ways to continue your learning journey. We encourage you to watch other videos in this course or search out your next favorite topic on Microsoft Learn at aka.ms/learn.